I'm a mom now, so I have moved on to bigger and more important things in video games. Today we're going to rank definitively every If You Give book. So the If You Give a Mouse a Cookie series. Now I am qualified to make this and my child is not, because my child is a toddler who wants to read the same book over and over again. And I am a learned adult who has reading comprehension. I'm going to give you the definitive ranking for all these books. We'll start in chronological order. If You Give a Mouse a Cookie is an S tier book. It sets the tone. It is the OG. It is the classic. The mouse goes through. Everything the mouse does makes sense. All of the pieces of the story are connected. It makes a perfect loop. It's also lovely for that nostalgic 1980s looking house. It makes me very happy. That is the best book that we can have. It started it all. Next, If You Give a Moose a Muffin, that is an A tier book. It follows quite in the footsteps of the first one. It's not quite as connected. It doesn't flow quite as well. But overall, it is a very charming little story. I love the scenery of living in the woods, the cool autumn morning, as well as the mother and the blackberries. The best part about the Moose book is, of course, when he scares himself with the bed sheet. Very funny. I'm a fan of that one. If You Give a Pig a Pancake is another A-tier book. Now, this pig is a menace. Compared to the first two, the pig does not ask to clean up, ever. This pig, she just goes and makes a mess everywhere. She fills up the bathtub, she drops all the nails on the ground when she's building the tree house, scatters the letters, she moves the furniture. She is a menace, but it is a very fun little book. Again, the farther we get, the less connected everything feels. It's a bit of a stretch that hanging wallpaper is going to remind her of syrup, but syrup and pancakes, it's okay. That one is my child's favorite book. Next, If You Take a Mouse to the Movies, that is unfortunately going to be a C tier book. Now, I like the Christmas theming of this book, but the problem is the framing and the setup. This is If You Take a Mouse to the Movies, and the movies is barely a focus. We almost never actually get to partake in the movie theater. We're out of it within the first 2, maybe 3 pages. And so by the end of the book, when the mouse says, I want to go back to the movies, who cares? Like, we've been playing in the snow and Christmas tree decorating, but there's no movies. It's not movie theater themed, and I think that kind of ruins it a little bit for me. If You Take a Mouse to School, we are back up to an S tier. This is an S tier story. I'm a big fan of If You Take a Mouse to School because it does use the school as a setting, and it uses it very well. I love the mouse doing all of the difficult math equations on the board. I think it's really fun how the mouse gets to play with everybody at recess and then waiting for the bus. There's a lot of fun happening at school, and even though it doesn't have that food connection like the first set of books did, I think that it did a really nice loop. The setup of the mouse putting the lunchbox in the cubby shelf and then having to get it later because he forgot. Genius. Love that. It's a really great story. I enjoyed it quite a lot. If You Give a Pig a Party, I'm going to set in a B tier. So it's not quite as fun as If You Give a Mouse to School. Again, it feels a little disconnected. The pig at the end of the book asks for a party. She's already having a party. She literally brought all of her friends to a slumber party and then asked for another party. That's kind of silly to me personally. Now, the rest of the book, the connections are really great. I think it's fun to have introduced all the animals there. I think the fair, the county fair, is a really great, again, throwback for young children to see, this is something that used to happen every year. You would go to the county fair. So that's all wonderful and good. The hide and seek page is really fun to ask, can you find everybody? I couldn't find the dog the first time. It took me a little while. But overall, it's just not as strong as the other books. It's not as connected. If You Give a Cat a Cupcake, now this might be a controversial take, but I'm putting this in the A tier as well. Compared to maybe some of the earlier books, maybe people don't think it holds up. I think it's hilarious. So this cat is the most unhinged out of all the animals that are here. This cat is just making messes everywhere, not cleaning them up, but has so much enthusiasm that you can't even slight him for it. I think it's really fun that he just runs right to the beach to collect everything, but then as soon as he can't, he decides we need to hit the gym. That's hilarious. I like let out an audible laugh when we got there. It was just funny. And then the cat continues to find just really silly things. He likes to go out, he likes to do things. He reminds me of my in-laws in a really good way. And so with all of that together, connecting the sand with the sprinkles, final page of the sprinkles being doused on the cupcake, it's just a really fun story. I like it. We'll call this one an A tier. Next, if you give a dog a donut, this one is unfortunately going into D tier for me. So my biggest issue with the dog and the donut book is the setting of this book. It's similar to if you take a mouse to the movies, where I felt the setting was a little off. The problem with this book, if you give a dog a donut, is that it really should have been set at a cider mill. The donut and then immediately asking for apple juice, to me that doesn't connect. That's not a connection like the previous books have had. Cookies and milk, muffin with jam, cupcake with sprinkles, pancake with syrup, all of those make sense as connections, but to me, when you eat a donut, you don't immediately want juice. So unless you're at a cider mill, unless you're there and you're getting a fresh apple, pear, peach, one of the cinnamon, delicious donuts fresh from the cider mill and fresh pressed cider. To me, that would have been the perfect setup for this book, and it kind of fumbled it, because you can't really shift it to the summer because of the playing in the water. Later on in the book, baseball, it's clearly meant to be a summer book, and so it doesn't really fit. The setting does not jive with me, so to me that's a D tier book. Finally, if you give a mouse a brownie, unfortunately to me is also a D tier book. This mouse really does not have the same grab that he did at the beginning. This whole he's trying to start a band was kind of cute and kind of funny, but I feel like by the middle of the book it fell apart when he was just hungry for a snack and you had to give him a picnic and you didn't even really get a picnic and the clouds remind him of ice cream. To me, it's a little out there. It doesn't really have the same charm as the first books. So this is my definitive ranking for the If You Give a Mouse a Cookie books. And honestly, I do think that the way that they're set up is also perfect. I would not change any of these. The Mouse to School is, to me, I think my favorite book, but I don't think I can put it in front of Mouse a Cookie just because Mouse a Cookie is so iconic. And then down here, personal enjoyment, I do like If You Give a Cat a Cupcake way more than I should, but I think in general, the terms of the writing and how good the writing is, gotta go in this order. Big thanks to Laura Numeroff and Felicia Bond for this book series. They are a lot of fun. I would recommend reading them to your kids. Just read from babyhood as soon as you can, and we'll see you next time.